All right, guys, welcome back to Boots Come in Pairs. No guests this week. We've had a lot of good guests, but just kind of an overwhelming past 4 weeks with the number of good people we've had on, baseball professionals, baseball players, friends. But it's just been a fun experience. We've also started making YouTube shorts. So if your attention span is a little less and you don't want to watch a 2-hour podcast, totally get it. But we're kind of pulling some of the best clips out of there. But just a better way to interact with everyone and kind of show what we've been doing. So we've been just putting out more content. But we want to thank all of our guests that have come on. It's just been a really good experience. We're going to try not to do 2 hours every time.
Right.
But I wouldn't have shortened any of them. So if you haven't viewed any of those, go back. But yeah, we'll kind of get into a little bit of a recap of what we've been doing with them. We had Jeremy Weicker talking about Cardinals 4 weeks ago. Nick Gunther with the Timber Rattlers. We had Ryan Noda playing for the A's, and then Ryan Vino. Too many Ryans, but that's fine.
Lots
Ryan
of Ryans.
Vino
Hey, it's not a bad thing.
No, he does ticket sales and promotion with the Astros. So who was your kind of? It's hard to say favorite. What was kind of your? I guess we'll kind of go through each one with you. What were you kind of thinking with them?
Yeah, and just incredible to see the impact that all these people are making and how they're still so connected to the game. Just all of us being from the same area. Just cool to see people like getting out there, taking risks, just to stay part and be part of this incredible game that we call baseball. The cool thing about all of their journeys was that they're all so different, but all similar in that it's the game. But there's just lots of cool just mindsets and just tidbits of things that we didn't know about before. And I wouldn't say that we're the most casual fans. We're pretty intense baseball fans who pay attention to a lot of different areas. But just to hear what they're up to and what it takes to do well at this level, it's just crazy. But I mean, starting with Mr. Nick Gunther, I mean, to me, the longevity being with this organization, the desire to stay in minor league baseball, the desire to be in Appleton is super cool. But the thing that I go back to with Nick is just the grind. Like it is a 365 game for him, especially in the minor leagues. When the season heats up, what
do you do in the off season?
Exactly. And honestly, that was the first time that we've asked anyone that question.
Yeah.
And you know that they work, you know, it's a full-time job, but I don't think people truly understand the amount of time and effort and hours and blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to be part of an organization at the minor league level. I mean, there's just so much that goes on. You have a much smaller team. So the fact that these individuals can just grind like the players grind and get things done and involve the community, draw in the community, be a big player in the community. Like, to me, that was really cool to hear. Just the amount of hours and the amount of sacrifices that you have to make. I mean, you have to have a spouse and a family that are understanding. You have to be understanding yourself that this is my life and this is my passion. And this is what I'm doing. So, yeah, I mean, just that to me, the grind that Nick described was just super interesting and super cool.
Yeah. Well, that's my biggest takeaway from all three of our baseball professionals. I mean, Jeremy, I love Jeremy. I could talk Jeremy any day, and it's fun to show people what we've been talking about for the last 20 years. That's a different insight to it, but our baseball professionals, I mean, how hard this game is on each level. As a player, incredibly difficult because you're always having to adjust. Also, did you see that Ryan Noda highlight video that they posted?
Yeah, that was so cool.
I've seen all his homers and I recognize it, but he's a professional hitter. And we knew that,
Yeah.
but when you compile it all together and just show it in a highlight film, I'm like, he's budding star, whatever. But
yeah,
seeing that was
dude. When they posted that video on Instagram, I started looking through the comments, and one of these comments was like, this guy's going to hit 60 bombs this year. Just they were that excited about. I mean, 60 is a lot, but it's like, man, him hitting 30 or 40 is not out of the realm of possibility.
I would say 30 because he's so patient. He's not going to swing like Chris Davis, where he's striking out. He might strike out, but he's going to get his walks, and he just doesn't. He doesn't swing at bad pitches, so he's also not going to hit bad pitches out of the park. But I think 30 is like the perfect. If he hits 30 homers, he's doing everything right. I think that's just But sidetracked, anyways. But how hard the game is, the commitment level is another thing. I think everyone thinks like, oh, it'd be so cool to work in baseball, but they don't want to commit to that level. I don't want to commit to that level. I don't think I could. I don't think I'd want to. So, but it's cool to see these guys doing it because they're involved in the game, and that's just, it's their life. It's everything they do. They breathe it. They have to though, but it's still work. You know, so they're all like, yeah, my office is the ballpark, but my office is the ballpark. Like it's a double-edged sword. So I think just appreciating what they do, thinking it's cool, but also knowing how incredibly difficult it is to be in this industry and to do it as a career. Because I think the business side of baseball can take the fun away for some people, but I think, again, Ryan Vino, Nick Gunther, they definitely can still appreciate what baseball is.
And to add to that, like in Ryan Vino's LinkedIn profile, his tag is baseball is more than a game, and you can clearly see that just by the way that he speaks about his career, how he talks about his organization that he works for. The man is just immersed in the game and loves what he does and loves the environment. And it just goes to show that that's the kind of culture that the Astros have created. I remember him during the time when we talked to him, where he was speaking about a fellow coworker, and it's like, hey, like, how do we get better? It's like, well, we emulate the best, we imitate the best, we find out who the best is, and we do what they do, and we try to do it better. Like, and to me, when you can attack your job and attack your life like that, man, you're gonna be pretty successful. There's no ifs or buts about it.
Yeah, and anyone who thinks they want to be a Major League Baseball player, you need the approach that Ryan Noda has. He's so hungry. He's so intense about it. He's so into it, and he loves it. And that's so important. I mean, that's just the biggest thing is that I knew he worked hard. I knew he did all these things. You can see it. The way he's playing, the way he played the second half of the season, the way he grinded to get back in, the way he's grinded his entire minor league career. But if you want to play professional baseball, first is confidence. Then you have to have the skill and ability, but you have to work for it. And he's just done that, and it's so impressive. And just hearing him talk about his teammates, that Lawrence Butler clip, if you haven't seen that one, that's the one to watch. He's so passionate. And we didn't even prompt him that much. It was just like, hey, what do you think about your teammates? He's like, love Lawrence Butler. And it's like, oh, tell us. They didn't do a lot of winning last year. He wants to win. He wants to win so bad. That's the mentality you need. And it was like, it kind of like juiced me up. I was like, man, just start the season already. Like, he's ready to go like now. But like, no, he's just, regardless of what he does this year, he's already an incredible person, and he's an incredible baseball player, and he's got way more stats than we will ever. We'll keep saying that, but like, just hearing his passion, hearing his true colors come out was really cool.
Yeah, and then just his mindset too. Just that whole, like, that is the toughest part of the game, is the mental part. Like, your body is a lot more resilient than you think, obviously, over the rigor and the just the grind of an 162 plus game season. Your body is going to break down, but you get some breaks, your body can heal, but your mind has to be razor sharp. You have to be in it 150% all the time. You can't take a play off at all, because they will take advantage of you. And like that, to me, even more than the physical side, the mental side of this game as a player, I mean, you just have to have it all the time. And there's a select group of athletes who can do that. And they're very, very, very few. And Ryan's definitely one of them. And he's learning so much as he's progressing on in his career. Sounds like he has some great veteran presence, veteran players to learn from, whether they've been coaches or players or guys he works out with in the off season. Like, just super cool to hear that he's being mentored like that, and that he can mentor others.
Well, and the other thing I heard too, this was on the A's cast after he got off with them. They were like, teams inquired about him at the trade deadline. They wanted him, so he's not like, oh, he's just an A. Like, his whole thing with like, yeah, anyone, I'd get traded anytime. They want him. He's desirable. Mm-hmm. People see what he's doing, and he's a professional baseball player, and he's going to continue to be one. And I'm ecstatic for him. Like, it's like, dude, you're gonna go somewhere, you're gonna win. Someone's gonna want you, and it's gonna be amazing. So just keep playing, keep grinding,
keep doing it.
Yes,
keep going for it. The best is yet to come.
Yes. So again, big thank you to all of our guests for coming on. Anytime we have a guest, it's so cool for us to learn their story, hear them talk. Even if we know them, it's cool. It's even better if we don't, because there's just more to unpack. But we'll get into more of that later. Now we can kind of switch to the news that came out yesterday. Hall of Famers. I'm not mad at any of these.
No.
Beltre, Mauer, Helton.
Whew. Wow. Stacked. That's our childhood right there.
Is it? Are they all first ballot, or is Helton the second ballot?
I don't want to misspeak. Okay. I feel like they're all first ballots, but I feel like Helton might not be.
I'm more
Helton retired before the other guys.
I'm more jaded by the voting that Joe Mauer barely made it over the threshold. They're like, oh, but he's a first timer. I don't care. Joe Mauer is the best hitting catcher in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best defensive catchers in our lifetime. Buster Posey's a close second. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, also going to be mad. He didn't win a World Series, but and they're like, he didn't win an MVP. Justin Morneau got it.
Yes, he did.
Did he?
He won an MVP in 2009.
So they showed this today too. It was like Justin Morneau took Joe Mauer's MVP. I'm like, no, he didn't. No. Justin Morneau had a phenomenal year. The Twins just had two really good lefty hitters.
Joe Mauer's MVP year was the year he hit like 28 bombs and drove in like 96 runs and hit like 360.
Yeah.
Mauer won in 2009.
Yeah.
I think after he won the MVP is when they came out with all those the show commercials. Were like, oh, good, well played, Mauer. Like, I think that was 10 or 9, but he won in 2009.
Yeah, and I've expressed before, Joe Mauer is one of my favorite, not just catchers, players from that era. We got to meet him we were in Cleveland when they were playing, like, briefly. We got his autograph. That was cool. Justin Morneau said no to us, but Joe Mauer said yes. I won that one. But that was when he used to have like the long sideburns, and I think that's all I said to him was, I like your sideburns. But I was 12. It's fine. Always enjoyed them being the White Sox. So again, I can go on for Joe Mauer, but I think the other two are also equal. Todd Helton was probably one of the best pure hitters during that time. And he got a lot of flack for being in Colorado, but he was a very high average hitter, and that travels. His Todd numbers, I don't even care.
So Todd, I looked at the splits. Todd Helton's career average at Coors Field was 354.
Okay.
Let me see.
And he was what, 320 on the road?
345 with over 1,000 OPS. He was 287 on the road, which is Hall of Fame, and then almost like 850 OPS. Like this guy.
Sorry. If you had anyone hitting 287 ever right now in the major leagues, they would be an all-star and MVP, because no one's hitting 300 now. Yeah. So don't.
So 316, 953, 1,400 runs, 2,500 hits, 592 doubles. 367 bombs, 1,400 RBIs. He walked more than he struck out. Gold Glover.
Love that.
Batting titles, All-Stars, Silver Sluggers, like 17 years with one organization. Like the biggest jip was that he didn't get to play more baseball in October. Like his only shot was when they got swept against the Red Sox.
Yeah. To be fair, the Twins were usually in the postseason, but they didn't have much success. So
No, I mean they played the Yankees in the first
Yeah.
round every year, and
The
they lost.
Major League Baseball Hall of Fame has nothing to do with the postseason.
No,
I respect it, but like it really
I
doesn't.
feel like all the accolades have nothing to do with the postseason because they're devaluing. Oh well, Shohei
Well,
Ohtani MVP every year, blah blah blah. Like he
it's a
hasn't played any postseason games.
it's a regular season award, but
It is.
which is fine. That's fine. I think they have the postseason MVP for a reason. Um,
Yeah.
but no arguments on that one. Adrian
Yeah.
Beltre, another one,
Woo!
extremely long career. I think the
Oh
fact that he played third base the whole time was very
yeah.
impressive because it's just, and you couldn't touch his head. That was another
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Anytime someone would come over,
You know
but
what? The crazy thing about Beltre was how well he played in the back half of his career.
yes,
Like I remember his last year with the Dodgers was when he went balls out, dude. He hit like 48 bombs. I think he drove in 140 runs. It was something ridiculous like that.
that was in an
So
era
then
too where people were hitting the RBI numbers of the 2000 to 2007, 8, 9 are ridiculous. Manny had
yeah.
a like just they don't do
Uh
that anymore. They don't have that many
but
RBIs.
so Beltre has a career year and keep in mind like this guy started playing when he was 19. He was in the show when he was 19. So
He played for
he
19 years, so
and I think he played for 21 years
big.
actually. Yeah, he played for a long time. But like he has as good of a year as you can have in the final year of his contract. He goes to Seattle and signed a huge deal and he didn't play bad, but he wasn't great.
Yeah,
And I think they were hoping that he was going to be like a franchise changing player, a guy who was going to bring them back to like the early 2000s eras with like A-Rod and Randy Johnson and all those guys, Brett Boone and all those guys. And they didn't really have the success.
yeah.
And then I remember he goes to Boston
Hmm.
and he just plays incredible. Like drives in 100 runs, hits 315, hit like 40 doubles, hit like almost 30 home runs.
You
And that's
go
what got him.
you go from Seattle, a pitcher's ballpark, to Fenway, and he's
Yeah.
bombing them over the monster.
Yeah.
All those fly balls are home runs, and it's because he hit moonshots.
Yeah, and off one knee too.
Yes.
I mean, but I remember like that year with Boston was so impactful. Like I loved him. He was awesome. But like I think that changed the course for the rest of his career because
Hmm.
then he signs with Texas and he goes out probably as good as almost anyone could go out. Like he played his last 8 years in Texas, did really well. They were in the postseason quite a bit. They probably should have won the World Series in 2011 against the Cardinals, but there were defensive mishaps that happened that kept that from happening. That Rangers team was superior.
That
It
was
was
the
just the
pre
defense.
that was the pre DH era of Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, I mean that was, but yeah, I think the one thing is that he just didn't get to take home the ring, which is disappointing. But
Yeah.
Beltre for sure. I mean, 3,000 hit club.
Yep.
He hit like over 600 doubles. Or not 600. I think he hit 400. No, he didn't. He hit 662 doubles. And he hit
Yeah.
almost 500 homers,
Yep.
and he drove in a lot of runs, and he
He
hit for a good average, and he scored a lot of runs, and he played Gold Glove defense, and
yes.
just very deserving, all three of these players. And then on the managerial side of things, Jim Leland, 100%.
Yeah.
That guy was tough as nails. I mean, coached for a lot of really good organizations. What's weird is that his only ring, I mean, he should have won a couple times with Detroit, but his
Hmm.
only ring was with the Marlins in '97, where that was like a build a team, like build a team to win it
Yeah,
all.
I
Um,
forgot because I mean I remember Jack McKeon being in
yeah,
'03. I don't remember. I remember seeing the video of Jim Leland with the Craig
yeah.
Counsell and Edgar Torria team, but that was a super team. You just forget that he was there.
Yeah, and then like before that, like he coached the Pirates, and the
Yeah,
Pirates are really good. That was with Barry Bonds and Andy
yeah,
Van Slyke, and Tim Wakefield was on that team. That Pirates team
yeah.
in the '90s was
I was gonna say he
legit.
was he was on that '92 team that went to the playoffs before they went on a 30-year drought.
Yes.
And I know that
Yeah.
because I was born in '92, so
Yeah.
pretty much
But
my
yeah,
entire life,
Jimmy.
Pirates had not been in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jimmy was the guy, and yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
was known to be ripping some darts in the dugout
It was acceptable.
while he's
Yeah.
managing, but just tough baseball dude.
Yep.
Very, very much deserving, and yeah, all four of these guys are for sure. Want to kind of lead you into this point and see what your thoughts are. So you sent me a list last night
Mm-hmm.
of players who were on the ballot and
Yep.
showed percentages and different things. Obviously, the steroid guides have a little bit of a an asterisk next to their name. I kind of know how we both feel about that. But looking at that list, are there guys who you look at the list and you're like, man, I'm surprised. Like the fact that he's not in is a joke. And are there other guys where it's like, wow, I can't believe he got that much of the vote? What are your thoughts?
I have two. I have two thoughts on that. One, 100% Manny Ramirez should be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Actually, so I guess I have 3 points. Manny Ramirez, Hall of Famer, 100%. Not even a question. I don't care about the steroid bit. Never proven, whatever. His numbers are insane. He has every baseball number you could possibly want. How James Shields got 6 votes and Adrian Gonzalez got 1 baffles me. I don't think either one's a Hall of Famer. I think Adrian Gonzalez is a Hall of really good.
Mm-hmm.
But how is James Shields getting any? Whoever voted for James Shields for a Hall of Fame vote, it rings to that. Take that away. Take the votes away. That kind of stuff irritates me a little bit because I just feel like Adrian Gonzalez was a much better player in MVP considerations on really good teams. Dodgers, really good teams. He was on the Red Sox for really good teams. Like, much bigger contributor. The one I'm struggling with, and he's getting close, and there is gaining traction in Chicago, and I just don't understand it, is Mark Burley. I don't understand the Mark Burley push for he's almost just like a baseball lifer that was good enough to keep pitching, but like I wrote this down. He led the league. He pitched enough innings every year, right? He just would go out there and
Mm-hmm.
throw the innings. The only thing that Mark Burley ever led the league in, he got 5th in Cy Young 1 year, which is the year they won the World Series. Only things he led the league in were innings twice, which just means he threw the most innings. It doesn't mean he was the best at those innings. And he gave up the most hits 4 times. So he pitched the most innings and he gave up the most hits 4 times. Those are the only league leading stats that he had. One of those is a bad thing. So like,
Mm-hmm.
why? Do you have any Mark Burley thoughts? I like Mike Burley as a person, as a pitcher, whatever. He was good, but for the Hall of Fame, I just don't understand the traction for it.
Yeah. And being a lefty and someone who never threw very hard, like I do have a soft spot for Mark Burley. Just a very solid pitcher and a guy that you'd want on your staff on your team. Like good, could field his position better than almost anybody. I think he was like a 5-time Gold Glove award winner. But yeah, I mean, when you think of Hall of Fame, I don't necessarily think of, I mean, I think of all players, but like I don't not so much pitchers, but players. Like I think of like the hitters that have incredible numbers and have all the accolades who are not in, and then I see Mark Burley getting 75% of the vote. I'm like that. I mean, career 3.81 ERA. Like what he reminds me of, and it might be a little bit of a different comparison, but like Jack Morris is in the Hall of Fame. And you look at Jack Morris's numbers, they really weren't that great. They didn't jump off the page. He was a big game pitcher, and that's kind of what he went in on.
Right.
But I really don't think compared to guys who are in the Hall of Fame already, guys who are not in, who have just as good of numbers, like I think Mark Burley and Jack Morris are a pretty good comparison when it comes to their numbers. But yeah, I mean, 200 wins is really good. I mean, it's a feat. But yeah, the All-Star stuff isn't there. The not leading the league in those categories is not there. Winning, he won a World Series and he's a big part of that World Series,
Yeah.
but that's one title.
It took Jack Morris though a long time to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're talking Mark Burley has been retired for like what 3-4 years, like not even that long. It just doesn't make he's been eligible like twice now. And it's just like I don't get that. I also don't get why
Yeah.
K Rod isn't higher,
Yeah.
or Billy Wagner. Those two don't make
Billy
sense.
Wagner, like Billy Wagner was dominant,
Yes,
like
yeah,
one of the best relievers ever.
yep,
Like there was a lot of rumblings that he was going to make it. Like this is finally the year he's going to make it. But yeah, Burley had more percentage of the votes than him. Like Gary Sheffield should be in the Hall of Fame. Like look at his numbers. Look at his. I mean, he's
yeah.
won a World Series.
I'm kind of looking at those.
Chef.
Sheffield, Alex Rodriguez, Andy Pettit is in that group of the steroid guys. So is Manny.
I don't think I would put Pettit and Burley pretty similar, but Pettit was more successful. Like he just was.
Pettit also pitched in a
I
ton
honestly
more playoff games.
like.
I know it's not about that, but it just,
Yeah. Carlos Beltran to me is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yep.
Bobby Abreu has the numbers to be. Bobby Abreu was incredible.
Yes.
Like, I think Torrey Hunter deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Jimmy Rollins should get consideration. Like, there's a lot of guys on this list.
Torrey Hunter is another one of those guys like Beltre who almost had a better second half of his career than he did first.
Yes.
Half. With the Twins, he was kind of really good fielder, always a really
Incredible.
good fielder. But his offensive production and stability, and then the last couple of years with the Tigers, he was relevant until he was like 38. That's awesome.
Yeah. And he was one of the best hitters on that Pirate team.
Yes.
When he was with the Angels, he was one of the best hitters on that team.
Yes.
Like, Torrey Hunter and Beltre, that's a pretty good comparison, like, as far as being late in their career. And, I mean, David Ortiz, let's put him in that category, too. Like, David Ortiz, like, he was the man. And then he had a few years in there where it's like, man, he's just not himself. And then how he ended was just with a thunder. I mean, he hit like 330 or 320 the last year he played, and then they won the World Series the next year.
Remember how, like, we've seen batting practice hundreds of times, and David Ortiz is in the Hall of Fame, correct? He got in last year.
Yeah. Oh, he's in.
But remember that batting practice in Detroit? 'Cause we got there early. Whatever. We're just gonna hang out. At will, he was pounding the upper decks of Comerica, which is not easy. Like it's a good poke, and he was just like, oh, I'm gonna put one over there. I'm gonna put one over here. Like locked in. David Ortiz is one of the best hitters
to all fields.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're in agreement on a lot of things, but like, the Hall of Fame voting, again, if you're only gonna put in 3, I agree with all 3 of these 3. The ones that are close don't make a lot of sense, and there's plenty of people in that list that I would also like to see in. And then some that just should be dropped off, like James Shields. But that's fine.
Have you seen the 2025 list yet?
I haven't gotten that far into it.
Well, Ichiro's on the ballot.
Oh, he's in.
Yeah, but looking at some of the other players on that list, I'm like, there's a couple who I might consider. But aside from Ichiro, to me, Ichiro's the only like Ian Kinsler's on the list, and I'm trying to think of some other guys. I know Kinsler was though, but everyone else was just like, oh, well, you're really good. But Ichiro, to me, there might have been like 1 or 2 other guys who I thought were Hall of Famers as well. But Ichiro for sure. Ichiro should get 100% of the vote.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, that's a shame. Maybe that'll be a year for Manny Ramirez to get in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if Manny's ever going to get in, which is unfortunate because we all know.
Yeah, we all know. We do. Okay, before we get into some of the off-season stuff, this is the other topic I want to talk about that relates to players. Anthony Rendon. Talking about how baseball is too long. The season's too long. There's too many games. And he may have a point. He might be right. But you know what? I don't want to hear it from a guy who's played 25% of the last 4 seasons and makes $250 million. Do you think... Well, I got thoughts.
It's tough for me because I really like Anthony Rendon.
Yeah.
And I want to see him play well because when he plays, when he's healthy, he is probably a top 10, 15 player. Mm-hmm. Both sides of the ball. Gifted hitter, gifted athlete. He is one of the best. And some people just are injury prone, and you feel like as a fan that you get robbed of their prime and you get robbed of their career because they just can't stay healthy. Um, but I agree with you 100%. Like if you're not playing, it'd be one thing. It's like, man, you're playing like 75% of the games, and you might hit a little bit of a snag every season, but then you rebound and you finish strong. He has not been that player, and right now it looks like he should give the Angels some money back. Um,
Yeah.
I saw a comment that Jonathan Papelbon made, and
Yes.
for me, sometimes Pap is a little bit intense. I love the guy when he played, but
Right.
he kind of like sticks his nose where it doesn't belong, and he's not afraid to get in people's face, which
Well,
which is fine, or
he
or to
was
call them out.
he was a national, so I
Yeah,
don't think he's stepping out of line here, calling out a teammate. It's
yeah,
also two extremes because what works against Anthony Rendon, and whether there's truth to it or not, rumor is he hates baseball, or he doesn't like watching baseball, or he thinks baseball's boring when he's not playing it. Okay, even if that's wrong, this comment just goes on top of that.
it
And then
does.
it's just like, okay, so you don't want to play all these games. You don't play all these games. What's your motivation? That makes you question as a fan level, like, what's his
Yeah,
motivation even to get back on the field? The Angels stink. So, like,
yeah,
is he just collecting the check and go, whatever? Because it's like, well, I'm good
yeah,
enough to play this game. So, they're going to pay me. It all goes against your likability. Again, we're talking about
yeah.
Ryan Noda and his, passion and drive for the game. And you don't hear that from Anthony Rendon
No,
ever.
no, and it's just, and I guess it's better for us to know now if he's truly a phony than for him to get through his career and for everyone to think, oh, he's such a great guy, he loved the game and stuff. It's better for us to find out now, I guess, than to look back in 15 or 20 years and be like, huh, yeah, like, remember that guy? Yeah. Um,
And we can look at it objectively, like not the I like Jonathan Papelbon because of what he did for the Red Sox.
mhm.
He's probably a difficult teammate. You can see that.
Yeah,
But
he
also,
is.
this guy just wants to win. And that's all he really cares about. So when he's getting in people's face, that may not be the best approach for every team, and especially a team that's not winning. That's not a good approach. But this guy wants to win and he wants to go to
Mhm.
battle with his guys and he's the highest leverage pitcher you have. So you want that
Yeah,
guy to be super intense. And when he's giving up homers, his little like stare down thing doesn't really it makes people laugh, but like when
yeah,
he's on and he's closing out the World Series and
yeah.
throwing his hat in the air, like that's I can get on board with that guy. It's like
Yeah,
AJ
I mean, he was
Pierzynski.
he was a, he was there was a time where he was elite for sure,
Yeah.
and he was a really he was
Yep.
a really he had a really nice career.
Right.
He was an excellent pitcher,
Right.
and yeah, I mean, he was passionate and he wanted to win. And if you didn't want to, if you weren't on board with that, he was going to call you out, and that's
Yeah.
what he's doing now. Which,
Yep.
again, I mean, maybe it's good. It's good for baseball, and it's good for the fans to know this.
Right.
If that's truly the way that he is, Rendon is.
Right. But to get to the root of his point is that again, I don't want to hear from the guy that only plays 25% of the games, but is the baseball season too long? Is the question. Because they're doing all this stuff. Like, let's shorten games. Let's do this. Let's do that. Show me a baseball season that ends 3 weeks early because the season is statistically or mathematically over, and I'll abide to shortening the season. It always somehow comes down to game 162 for somebody.
Hmm.
Maybe not every team, but like I I might be wrong just on perception, but like I feel like every year it comes down to that. And sometimes they need another game and they go
Hmm.
163. And that's what's
Yeah,
crazy about it. It's like I understand that some people don't want to watch it. Me as a hardcore baseball fan, you could play 165. That'd be okay with like, but also
hmm,
who's going to sacrifice those games? You get 82 home games. Are you going to take 2 games less of revenue? Is it a Saturday? Is it a Friday?
hmm,
What
hmm.
team's going to say yes to that? They've gotten used to it. I don't think there's a lot of leverage for reducing the season,
No,
but I could just be
nope.
off base.
I don't think so. I mean, again, the player, a lot of these players are about their money too,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, with fewer games comes less money. You get rather your contract is your contract, but you get a game check. It's a game check. So
right, are you going to return? Let's say you take out 5% of the games and make it 100. I don't know what that'd be, 130 games, whatever it is. Are you going to return 5% of your salary now? Is that how that works? Are you going to restructure all these contracts to take out 5% because the revenue's not there from the TV deals and the stadium stuff? It's funny because a sport like football, the players were incredibly mad they added another week, right? They didn't want another week of games. Well, look what happened. There's still situations going down to the last week of the season. You know? Like, it's just uncanny the way sports work, and I don't think it matters how many games you have. I think the number is the number, and it's a grind, and that's part of it. Embrace it was Joe Maddenisms where, respect 90. Well, you know what? Respect the 162. And you sent me something, too, that was like Juan Pierre's the last player to start and play 162 games, start and finish 162 games, right?
He played every inning.
Yeah, he played every inning of a game, and that was 2004. So you know what, Anthony Rendon, if you're not hurt, you're not playing 162 games anyways. So don't worry about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, I don't want to beat a dead horse because he seems to be one. But to me, you have players who are they just can't stay healthy, and they're battling, and you can tell that they really want to be on the field, that they would do anything to be back at the top. I just saw that interview. I think AJ Przinsky has a podcast, and he had Chris Sale on it, and he was like, "Hey, like, thoughts about your time with Boston? Do you think that like, was this a bright time for you? Was it a bad time for you? Like, do you wish what did you wish for and all this stuff? Like, do you think you put your best foot forward?" And Chris Sale is about as competitive as a guy as there is in the game. And he didn't feel good about that at all. He said there's times where I think it was 2016. He's like, I had my best season ever. Like, I was dominant. I was locked in. Or 2017, dominant, locked in. Everything was going for me. 2018 was another really good year. I got hurt. I finished strong. He was the closer for that 2018 World Series team. Yeah. But he said, I was hurt, and this is not what I wanted to do. I feel like I owe that the Boston fan base and the franchise a lot more. But this is a guy who is doing his best. Like, he just couldn't catch a break, and it sucks. It sucks that we got one of the best pitchers, as Red Sox fans, that we had one of the best pitchers in the game, probably the best left-handed pitcher in the game, on our team during an era where our team was built to win. And he just could. It was just nothing he could do. And then another Red Sox, Dustin Pedroia, like, his career was cut short because of injuries. Like, he was another guy who's on this 2025 ballot. And to me, if he had a few more healthy years, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, just the way it is. But because of that, because of his injuries and just not getting to play the amount of games in the prime of his career, he probably won't make it. But you have guys like Chris Sale and guys like Pedroia who would do anything. They'd give anything to be on that field. They love the game. They breathe the game. That it's what they want to do with their life. And then you hear guys like Anthony Rendon, like, oh, cut the season short, too many games, blah blah. Like, he's clearly, I'm not trying to doubt his toughness, but like, he's clearly not giving it all he has, and he clearly doesn't love the game.
It's just it's the opposite of what you're saying. It's just, you have these guys who would do anything to play. Like, I would, hey, you tell me to play 10 more games than you want to play. Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. If I had that skill and ability, I would want to do that. It's obviously lacking, and that's just it's more upsetting, I guess. Especially when you hear everything else you hear. So.
He's gonna have this comment, this podcast is gonna follow him for the rest of his career. Yeah. We're all gonna remember it. We're all gonna refer to it, and he's gonna have to redeem himself in several ways if anyone's ever gonna see him in a positive light again.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the Angels are not going to be good next year again either. No. So it doesn't really matter what he does because he won't be playing meaningful baseball. So he probably will hate it. But we'll move on to, again, I think we've beat up Anthony Rendon enough. I like the guy too. I like him as a hitter. I like him as a player. I don't like his comments. I don't like his style in terms of how he approaches it. But that's fine.
Yeah.
He's not my fan favorite. at third base
No,
for sure, which we're not.
no, he's not. Nope.
We'll move on to some of the we've covered Dodgers sign everybody, but we can get into a little bit of the free agency. We have not talked about the one move the Cubs have done all offseason besides a backup catcher or minor league catcher or whoever. They have enough of those. Shota Imanaga. I was kind of indifferent about it until he did his press conference, and then I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. This guy's fun.
He's jacked.
Yeah, he's excited to be there. I think as long as you keep the expectation low on he's not the ace. Okay, he's not Kodai Senga coming over. He's not Yamamoto. And who even knows what they're going to be. It's interesting because these Japanese players, these Korean players, whenever they come over, it's hard to gauge. Because the basis is when they first started doing this with like the Hideo Nomo, Ichiro, and Hideki Matsui being probably three of the first big ones, it's like, oh my gosh, we are getting, the next great player. And sometimes it doesn't work. We've seen it with Kosuke.
Daisuke.
Well, Daisuke had a good first year. And then
he is okay. He had a couple okay seasons.
We've seen it with Kosuke Fukudome. We've seen it with there's Shintaro Fujinami for the A's last year. We're having to painfully watch him pitch every 7 days because he's an Oakland A. But like, they don't all pan out.
No.
But he seems really interested in being here, and I kind of like that about him. So I don't know anything about his. We'll see what his pitches look like because they all have the idea like, oh, I do this pitch, this pitch. It's 12 different pitches, but I think it'll just be it's a welcomed addition considering we've had 0 additions besides him.
Well, to me, he looks like a big league starter. He is 30. He's seasoned, and he has some innings under his belt, but. Right. In Japan, they have a 6-man rotation, so he doesn't necessarily have the miles on his arm that people over here would have at this point in their career. He throws a lot of different pitches. He's got like a 6-pitch mixture, but throws a lot of fastballs. He's got some cutting action and some sinking action. I believe he does throw a cutter and a splitter, but not as much. But they keep talking about just his release and how much vertical break his fastball has. He sits in the low 90s, but he's got a really good mix. He's got a good sweeper ball that he likes to throw to right-handed hitters, kind of sweeping across the plate. Probably wipe out lefties with that too. He does throw a splitter too. It's not really like a Senga splitter or an Otani splitter, but it's a good splitter. It's got a nice downward movement. Bottom drops out of it. But I think the big thing with Shota is that he throws a lot of strikes. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. So I'm hoping that he just pounds the zone. What they have said is that he is a high fly ball pitcher or that kind of thing. So hopefully that doesn't translate to the blustery Wrigley carrying out during the summer. Hopefully he can keep it in the ballpark. But yeah, I mean, just he's just intelligent and he's smart too. You could be intelligent and not be smart, but he seems like a smart pitcher who throws a lot of strikes and has a good mix. And yeah, I'm excited. He pitched on the same team as Trevor Bauer last year, and they were a really formidable 1-2 punch for, I believe it was for Yokohama was the team they played for. But yeah, I mean, Shota pitched really. He started the championship game of the World Baseball Classic, so he's pitched against really good players. But this will be a good test for him, I think.
I think it's the rotation thing. The number of games is going to be another one, but you gotta hope that someone like Kyle Hendricks is getting in his ear, because Kyle Hendricks has been really good over the course of his career. He also can get pounded. If he's not locating his pitches, especially on a hot summer day at Wrigley, that ball is going to fly out. And if he's a fly ball pitcher, that sounds like Dan Herron. But if you learn to roll with it, it's like, hey, it's one bad outing, it's fine. I'm going to come back. I need to locate better. I need to work. That you just have to have the support, and that's why I think keeping a guy like Kyle Hendricks in your rotation is so important, because he can teach maybe some of these guys that don't have like high velocity numbers, how to pitch at Wrigley, which is a different
Yeah.
animal. Because you know what? Pitching at Wrigley in the postseason down the stretch when it's colder is much different. It's a much more friendly ballpark to pitch in. It can be a little easier, but that July day when the wind's blowing out and it's hot, you might let up 6 home runs and it might
Yeah.
inflate your ERA, and that's okay. But even like you're like, oh, he doesn't have Senga stuff. Senga got hit a little bit last year too. He wasn't, he didn't win the Cy Young. He wasn't, low
No.
twos ERA. He got hit a little bit. So I think
Yeah.
adjusting to the long season will be something too that'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
But Kode Shinga also throws like 96 miles an hour,
He does.
and his split finger has a lot more movement. So big thing for Shota is just figuring it out. Don't walk people.
Yeah.
Keep it in the ballpark, and you hit the nail on the head. Kyle Hendricks has been like the king of low velocity, bad contact over his career.
Yeah.
So he's a great guy to learn from. Looking at the Cubs rotation overall, if I would feel a whole lot better with Shota being our number 3 than being our number 2. So I'm really, really, really hoping that they can snag one of these other big arms out there, whether it be Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery. Those are the 2 guys that I have my eye on. Yeah. I would really, really hope that they have enough sense as an organization to ink one of these guys to a 4, 5, 6 year deal. I think either one of them will be worth it. They both have big game experience. They both pitched really well in the past couple of years. So I'm really hoping for a Snell or a Montgomery kind of sliding in there. If it's Snell, you can bump Steele down to 2, which is nice. I think but yeah, back half you have Wicks and you have Hendricks and you have guys who you can fill in the back end
Assad
with.
Has some. I
think
you have a lot of guys now that have experience starting in the major league, which is important. But almost like what Jeremy was saying, add some veterans, and that way, if it doesn't work out, you can throw the young guys in there, but at least try to sign somebody. Don't just go in with like this. So yeah, they need some more.
At least one. I would love again. To me, if they really, really want to compete this year, if they want to be a force in the Central and a force in the NL, you have to make Montgomery or Snell a priority. Yeah. You have to. Well, absolutely have to.
It's getting a little more difficult because Rhys Hoskins just joined the Central for the Brewers. That stinks. I don't know how else to say it. Hopefully that means they're signing Bellinger. I don't know what else to say about it, but I wanted both of them. And Michael Busch is another good piece, but we don't know because he doesn't have a lot of professional at bats.
He hasn't done it. He's 20. He's 26, and he has not had a long stint in the big show yet.
Not to say that because I think Chase Utley was 26 when he first started.
Yeah,
but not to say that he can't be productive. We've seen what Rule 5 picks can do. But it just is irritating when you let someone like that kind of, and I don't even know if Rhys Hoskins was linked to the Cubs seriously. It was because it's like, oh, this would be a good fit. But first base has been a glaring hole for Milwaukee for the last several seasons. Yeah. And they filled the need and they got better. So what's your response, Jed? What's your, stop lying to me. I know I said that before. Lie to me, Jed. No, tell me the truth now and tell me what we're doing because I'm not pressing a panic button, but I'm getting angry. I'm not thinking oh, they're going to be horrible, but we need more than catchers that have AAA experience.
Yeah, and the pop last year we had no pop from third and first. Bellinger was not a first baseman most of the time. He was a center fielder most of the time. So that's where they really lacked the thunder in their lineup. And even when Jamer came over, Jamer had a good first couple weeks, but he kind of flattened out. He wasn't really hitting bombs or driving in runs like he was the entire season. Yeah. So you need some thunder from those positions. You're already set up the middle. Those Dansby and Nico can go, but having those boppers, having those people that you fear in the lineup. Sale was that guy down the stretch. He was the guy who was just beating the crap out of the ball. But you need some thunder. You need some thunder. It cannot be Madrigal and Wisdom. It can't be.
No.
That's at third. We need a third baseman, and they need a first baseman. They need to sign someone. And what's crazy and what's kind of a little bit nerve-wracking is that no one else is really linked to Bellinger. Like Bellinger's market is really, really quieted a little bit. And I saw this in an article today, but it's like, oh, well, the Cubs are kind of waiting this out because they don't want to bid against themselves to bid the price up. I think that finally people are kind of calling Boris's bluff, and they like, listen, man, like this is what we're going to give him, and this is about all he's worth.
Yeah. Again, I'm not panicking yet, but like it's frustrating. It's frustrating seeing all these guys go off the board, seeing the Dodgers get everything they want, and then we're sitting here with one pitcher when we need multiple positions on the infield filled, while other teams in the division fill those positions that we need too. And it's like, I want them all in, and it seems like they're still dipping their toe. And there might be a big plan, and until we get to like mid-February, I guess there's nothing to worry about. Until they break for spring training and they don't have these positions filled, that's when you got to be concerned. But like, it's frustrating.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking to the Dodgers, I mean, like they just like retool. It's like you already had two of the best players in the game. Like you add a big bat in Teoscar. They have other guys that you can fill in spots. Like Muncie's been with them for a while. Like, he can hit. You got guys like Outman and Rojas and all those guys, Will Smith. And then it's like the biggest issue for them last year was their rotation. You're going to get Walker Buehler back. You traded for Glass now. You signed Paxton, who's going to get you innings. You signed Yamamoto. I mean, they don't even need Shohei to pitch. And then they have all their other guys. They have Gonsolin, and they have Bobby Miller, and they have Dustin May, and they probably have 7 or 8 guys who could start and do well. They don't even need Shohei to throw an inning.
Yep. And 4 weeks ago, we were kind of making fun of the rotation, and they've now filled out the entire thing. And it's like,
yes.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And they also in the Glasnow trade, they got Manuel Margot, so they got another outfielder who has experience and who can steal bases. So it's like
in case
they understand,
hit, which he might.
Yeah, and yeah. If Jason Hayward doesn't do as well as he did last year, but again, there's no pressure on Jay Hay now. Jay Hay's kind of doing his thing and doing well when he gets to play and playing good defense, and they're an interesting team. I mean, is there any? Obviously, like Josh Hader, that was some big news. That was
probably the only other one that I feel is worth mentioning at this stage, because we've covered the Giants, we covered all that stuff.
Yeah,
Josh Hader is probably one of the ones I wanted.
Yeah,
but at that price tag, I knew the Cubs weren't going to be in. That's a large sum of money. But you know what? The Astros just got even better.
Yeah.
They were already good. They were already good on the back end. Did Hector Neris resign too, or did he go somewhere else?
I don't know, but you by signing Hader, you move Alex Presley, who's Ryan Presley, who's an excellent closer. Like he gets bumped down to 8, and I think Abreu bumps down to 7. So it's like do
you bump down Presley though? Like, he's won you a World Series. I think you put Hader in the 8th, or have a 1A, 1B situation where it's like, now you have a lefty and a righty, and it's like, that's a huge signing for the Astros. I don't think they needed much, honestly. But, like, that's a splash. And he's got, when he was pitching for last year for San Diego, he's like, I'm not pitching multiple innings. We're not in a pennant race. We're so far out of it. Because I think the manager's like, oh, yeah, we're gonna throw you out there. He's like, no, I'm going to give you 1 inning. Because I'm pitching for the next thing. He will pitch as much as they tell him to. And you don't have Dusty Baker.
He's proven that.
Yeah, you don't have Dusty Baker pulling, the bullpen moves anymore. So, I don't know. That was one I was like, if the Cubs made that move, I'd be like, oh, they're going to go. Because you can slide Alzolay out. That's fine. He pitched well for a stretch. But don't tell me there's not a better closer out there. We talk about this all the time. Like, hey, there's someone better. Go get him. They didn't do that again. Because I don't know who else is. Even Aroldis Chapman. Chapman signed with the Pirates. So again, the Central is getting stronger.
It is.
And you're sitting on your hands.
Yeah,
else?
with the same relievers, with the same and that was one of the biggest problems is that the bullpen just got taxed at the end of the year because Marcus Stroman didn't show up. No. Marcus Stroman was good luck, Yankees. Good luck with him. He lost favor with me.
Yeah, that's
fine. I thought he showed no toughness, no heart. During a time when they needed him the most.
I think it's not about. I don't think it's. I wouldn't question his toughness. I think he legit ran out of gas, and he had dead arm, and it's like, what do you do? He tried to pitch again, but that's another point though. That's why I'm not going to sign you for 3 more years because I don't think you can pitch that long.
No,
and he's had this problem before. He doesn't throw that hard to begin with. So when all of a sudden your 89 dips down to 85, that's a big difference, man. You're not the same pitcher. That's Jake Arrieta. Jake Arrieta goes from 96 to 93, and all of a sudden he's getting creamed, and his ball's not moving as much, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah, that cutter, that 90-mile-an-hour cutter dips down to 84, and then bam, no movement.
And it was like, I remember they re-signed him again the second time, and it's like, this guy's a shell. Thank you, Phillies, for taking him, but we had him for a really good stretch. I remember the first start he made for the Cubs. We were sitting in center field, and it's like, whoa.
Second game of doubleheader. I'm like, whoa, that's the guy from the Orioles.
Him and Tyler Thornburg just throwing BBs, but it makes a huge difference. And again, good luck, Yankees. But they'll figure it out. They don't care.
Yeah.
Gosh.
They always do.
I'm just frustrated is the word that I'm hanging on because it is frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch other teams sign people and you're still waiting and basically playing chicken with Cody Bellinger. I don't get it. Just give him what are you waiting on? $2 million, $10 million over the course of 6 years?
How far apart are you?
Right. Is it a year thing? Is it like he wants 7 years and you only want to give him 5? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
He's not gonna get 7 years. No one's getting 7 years anymore.
No, that's
no smart organization is gonna give a guy 7 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think those days are done.
Yeah.
Unless you're Shohei.
Well, we'll see what that looks like. We don't know.
Yeah. Deferred.
Oh gosh. All right. Anything else before we go to fan favorites for the week?
No. Just excited for things to heat up a little bit. There's a lot of good players out there. Yeah. Hopefully the Cubs get a few of them.
Matt Chapman is still out
there. Matt Chapman is another guy. I really want Matt Chapman.
If you sign Matt Chapman and Cody Bellinger and then get some arms, I'm cool with that.
Yes.
But we're teetering on those are the only 2 guys left that are worth signing.
Yeah.
That stinks.
And there's a lot of teams who have needs at those positions.
Yes. Yep. They're not the only team that needs a third baseman.
No.
But you signed 2 Gold Glovers. Sign me up. I'm good for that.
Yeah, have a platinum glove infield.
Yep. All right. Well, we doing right field tonight? Is that what you got?
We're doing right field tonight.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So past, I have 2 guys in mind, and they are 2 of my favorite players of all time. One of them we mentioned earlier in the show tonight, and the other one is pretty self-explanatory for me. So my guy is Vladimir Guerrero. Vladdy was just, I had nothing in common with him as a player, but I just loved watching him hit, and I loved watching him throw. We were younger when he was with Montreal, but I just remember that cannon of an arm, that hose that he had. And then more remembering his time with the Angels where he could hit anything.
Yeah.
Best bad ball hitter to ever play.
Yep.
First ballot Hall of Famer, very deserving, all the stats, all the accolades. He won an MVP as well. Mm-hmm. Never won the big game, but the Angels were always there. It's probably the last time the Angels were relevant, honestly. Really relevant is when Vladdy was in the heart of that order. Ended his career with Texas and had a really good last season. And then he just kind of rode off into the sunset. And now he's got one son who is incredible. He's got another one who's getting drafted. He's got nephews who are playing, and just a great ambassador for the game. One of my favorites of all time. And then the other guy is Ichiro. Such a special player. Guy who is going to be in the Hall of Fame in both leagues that he played in. He was the hit king in the Major League Baseball, hit king in Japan. Just a guy who goes about his business, an ambassador. You see all these Japanese players coming over, and just how well he treats them, how much respect people have for him, and how much respect he has for them. Just a wonderful player. Where I remember I think it was 2000. Was it 2000 or 2001? Was this rookie? I think 01.
Yep.
Just how he hit the ground running, and had like 230 hits his first year. Won Rookie of the Year. Won a Silver Slugger. Never tried to do too much. Just did everything well. I think if he wanted to, he probably could have averaged 20 homers a year. He had that kind of. But it just wasn't in his game, and it's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to set the table, and that's what he did.
Yeah. Well, two things. I mean, didn't Vladimir Guerrero have a weird Baltimore Orioles year too?
He did have a weird Baltimore. He had a weird later in his career. He did. Yes.
But also, Ichiro is interesting. If you go through his stat line year by year, I'm pretty sure he won MVP in 01 as well.
He I think he did.
So the number of hits, he had 230 hits, whatever.
Yeah.
He did that every year after that and did not win MVP. Yeah. So they were so impressed with it in his first year. And they were like, okay, but that's just as normal. So we're not going to give him the MVP ever. Yeah. Also, there was a lot of good players in that early 2000s.
Yes.
But
500 stolen bases, too. 500 stolen bases. Yep. 10 gold gloves.
Yep.
3,000 hits.
Yep.
10 all-star games.
Yeah.
2 batting titles. Like,
yeah.
The guy was crazy.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt about that. Mine, there's only one that came to mind where it was like, yeah, that's someone who we just grew up watching, and it was like that. He was the guy. He's kind of fallen out of favor, and that's okay. Sammy Sosa, 100%. That was that was who you waited up to watch. That was who you would stop what you're doing because Sammy's up to bat, and he's probably gonna hit a homer. And in the summers between 1996 and 2003, most likely he was going to hit a home run. He was that dynamic when he was hitting. Swung out of his shoes. That's okay. Struck out a lot as well. Dusty probably should have moved him out of the 4-hole much earlier than he did, but that's okay. But there wasn't a player that I wanted to be more than Sammy Sosa. Even though I never had power numbers, I think I hit a total of 2 homers in my entire baseball career. But he was still just that dynamic. We were at a Brewer game, and Dad's like, all right, we're going to watch Sammy bat one more time, right? Then we got to go. Don't know where we were rushing off to. I think you had a baseball game or something, but, like, we wait for Sammy. Sammy literally crushes it out of the park, and he's like, okay, let's go. And it's like, that's kind of what we waited for. So
didn't he hit it through the window or something?
Yeah, he hit it out of the stadium. It was like, all right, now we're gonna go. Like we were just sitting at the top of the stairs, the tunnel, and then it's like he hit it, and it's like, all right, we're going. But I remember that All-Star game in Milwaukee where he was, just doing crazy stuff, and just him running out to the outfield with the American flags in 01. Just so much good Cubs stuff. He was a good defender too. Again, probably not the best player, but
yeah. Chase for 70 against Mark McGwire. Yes. That summer was incredible. Yeah. But you just didn't know who was gonna hit the next one or when they were gonna do it.
Right. But I think as we go more into this, it's not always about the best player. The player at that time who I was most invested in was Sammy Sosa. So
yeah, freak athlete too. I mean, fast. He could fly and just so strong and yeah.
There's a reason for it, but that's okay. We don't care.
Yeah.
Well, the Hall of Fame cares.
Yes,
but that's
they do.
Yeah, 600 plus homers, had all the numbers, but if there was no steroid era in baseball, he would be in the Hall of Fame as well.
He sure would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. You forget about him. I actually saw him come up on social media, or maybe it was on my Maybe it's on my. I was just on my
We don't
Google
know.
homepage. I
We don't
saw
know
him
if
come
this
up.
is legit or not, but we still have the Sammy Sosa autograph Cubs bat.
There
So
we go. I
we
think
don't
it's
know.
legit.
I don't know. It looks legit. I don't
It
know.
looks legit. It probably is. We'll
I,
say that it is.
Mom and Dad brought it over, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll throw that by my
I'll
desk. Why
throw
not?
that. I'll put
Yeah,
that in the
yeah.
memorabilia case for sure.
Well, we used to swing it in the basement. So,
We
oops,
did.
oops. Sorry,
Um,
Sammy.
so as far as today is concerned, I mean, there's quite a few guys who are very talented. One being the MVP of the NL, Mr. Acuna, who is
Is he a center fielder though?
he's a right fielder. He's always been a right fielder.
Oh, Michael Harris
Um,
plays center. That's right. I
yeah,
just avoid
yeah,
watching the Braves at all costs, and I don't like Ronald Acuna, so that's just my problem.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as talented as he is not my favorite. Um, Another guy who is in the running for being a favorite is Fernando Tatis. He is transitioning to the outfield.
He's a great outfielder. Yeah.
He had one of the best statistical outfield seasons ever. He won the Platinum Glove, which is given to the best overall fielder in a given season, which outfielders normally don't win that award. That's how much of an impact he made out there. Um, a guy that I am a huge fan of right now, and we're going to go back to this very successful professional Astros team, Kyle Tucker.
Okay,
Um,
that's not what I thought you were going with that. Okay,
Kyle
I like Kyle
Tucker,
Tucker.
Kyle Tucker is a homegrown Astros prospect. They drafted him as a high schooler, first round. Um, he has just gotten better in some aspect every year he's played. He is one of the most feared hitters in the game. Him and Jordan are just a dynamic duo, but he's just got that really smooth swing. He's a longer guy. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5". Plays pretty good defense as well. Just a really good all around player. You don't hear a lot of chatter out of him. He just kind of goes about his business. But he seems to be a really even keeled, nice player, good representative of the game. Um, as much as I enjoyed um, watching them struggle a little bit in the playoffs because I really wanted the team that they were playing to move on. Um, you take that postseason out of it where he really didn't play that well. He had his best season yet, and still not even 30 yet, and really looking forward to see what he brings to the table in his prime. But yeah, just a solid player.
Yeah.
I really like watching him play.
It was tough because he was struggling with his stroke down the stretch, and
Yeah,
he's usually so locked in.
yeah,
But the no batting gloves, I like that too. It's kind of the
yeah.
Moises Alou thing. Um, but mine would be again. I did not think you were going Astros, but and I briefly thought I was like, oh, does Corbin Carroll play right field? He plays center. Um,
He plays all three.
he
I
does, and
mean,
that's kind of where
I
I was.
picked him. I picked him for left.
Yeah. Did you? I knew
Yeah,
you picked
I
him somewhere.
picked.
It would since I picked someone else in left field, I was thinking Corbin Carroll. But the other guy I was thinking too is Mookie Betts. Just and we've talked enough about him. But for me, if I guess to sum up the outfielders that I haven't picked, it would be Corbin Carroll. If I was going to put him in right field, that would be my
Yeah,
right fielder because
you
there's
can put him there. You can
yeah,
put him there if you want. I won't mind.
it's just and again first year rookie season everything he was doing, but just the way he was approaching it and just so humble about it. And they're in this huge moment. He actually, when they were playing the Cubs, kind of drove me nuts because I'm like, you can't get this guy out. I don't really like this guy. But then as he went through the postseason, I'm like, I can respect this guy. He is
Hmm.
just doing phenomenal. And we'll see how the sophomore season is. But I think he works too hard to, even if he slumps, even if he goes down, the aspects of his game that don't are fielding, base running, those kind of things. I know you brought up Tatis, and he just made it look so easy, but I think Corbin Carroll is as good an outfielder
Mm.
as anyone as well. He's got a good. He's just a strong for not being super big. He's kind of like a Dustin
Hmm.
Pedroia type, like small but like just very powerful. Um,
Yeah.
and just yeah, going to Arizona and seeing him there too was fun. But I think this postseason especially was a coming out party for Corbin Carroll. just so the whole world can see what he can do. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put him in my right field.
Yeah, well, he played right the entire series that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean they kind of flip-flopped him around, so like they would put if they had their best outfield out there, they'd have Lourdes Gurriel, uh, Alec Thomas, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yep.
Corbin and right. But Corbin would spell Gurriel and left when Gurriel would DH, and then they'd move someone else to
Yep.
right. But yeah, Corbin's super. He played some games in center too when Thomas Thomas was up, and then he went down to figure out to swing a little bit. Then he came back up again. But yeah, dude, Corbin's legit. He's one of my favorites in the game.
Yep. Yeah.
Easy,
Yep. Absolutely. All
good
right. Well,
pick.
yeah, I was thinking we'll probably have to create like a roster when we're done with this because we have one, two, maybe four more of these to do.
We have short, which I think we're gonna save for next week.
Okay.
Third, and then I
D-
think
Starting pitcher and DH.
and DH. Yeah.
So
So that's all we have. So we've been moving through them.
yeah, yeah. So we have four more, and then we'll have to have a like final. Maybe we probably won't make a segment of it. We'll probably just like maybe post it to our new Instagram page that Ryan runs.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's the other fun, exciting news that we have is that we have an Instagram page, we have Spotify, YouTube, but that's gonna be a different level, and hopefully, like you've been sharing some like baseball stuff too, like if you see it on other stuff, but yeah, just fun to have another platform so we don't have to spam you guys from our personal accounts. You can just
Yeah.
see it on the
Yeah,
on the normal one.
you can see it and follow it from there. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's we could have made a Facebook page, we could have made an X/Twitter page, we could have made a TikTok, we could have done different things. I just feel like Instagram is going to be the best social
Mm-hmm.
media platform for this podcast because honestly, I don't really want to just share the show and share clips. I want to share baseball experiences. I want to repost things that are going on in the baseball world. I want to share like, hey, we're at the ballpark today, or hey, did you see this? Did you see this play? Like reposting a play. Like I want to share not just our baseball podcast, but our baseball journey. Brandon and I are both baseball people. We love being at the ballpark. We love following the game. And it's more than just talking about it. It's experiencing it. So I just feel like Instagram is just going to be a good spot for us to again stimulate the baseball conversation and make baseball connections and all that. So yeah, very excited about that page and what we're doing, especially with these shorts that Brandon is taken from these episodes. Again, guys, if you haven't, I know some of these episodes are a little bit long, but there are car rides, there's monotonous times at work. There's lots of fun conversation. I don't even care if you listen to us, just listen to our guests and some of the things that they're
Yeah.
saying and some of the knowledge that they're imparting on us and just the different perspectives. If you've ever had a desire or an interest or just wondering what goes on in the game of baseball, like some of these people we've had on, even on the equipment side of things, like learning from Joe All, like what goes into making a bat, and just like how the area of the country in the Northeast is like the haven for wood baseball bats just because of the harsh winters and the warm summers and how it really refines the wood, like all that stuff, guys, all the physics and the different things that go into crafting a bat. Like these are just things that you're not going to get from social media. You're not going to get from like taking a tour or going to the ballpark. Like you're getting the inside information and you're getting it from the source. So
Yeah.
cool stuff, guys.
Everyone's been very gracious with their time too. It's like I don't know if I expected half them to go as long as, but like you know what? Hey, if it's flowing and they want to keep talking, we're gonna let them keep talking. So yeah, I think we're definitely getting a candid view of everyone we bring on, and just our network continues to expand as we're gonna have someone next week from an area we haven't covered yet. We'll say. I don't know if we want to give them any more than that.
Yeah. Well, all we'll say we're not going to reveal the name, but it is someone who comes from the baseball operations side of things, and coming from the college game. So that's all we're going to share. this is a friend of a friend, a connection, and just one of our awesome guests. Just really enjoying his time. I'll name the guest. Mr. Vino was again, he's an avid listener of the show. Very much enjoyed his time, and he said, "Hey, I got this buddy who is in this area, and I think he'd have a blast on your show." So reached out, and yeah, that's for next week. So be sure to watch this episode. Tune in next week. We're very excited to have our guest on and just keep talking about this awesome sport of baseball.
Yep, absolutely. Well, until then, boots come in pairs. Have a good weekend, guys.
Peace, y'all.